Hey guys, I'm back. Today we are in conversation with Tamish. He runs tamcollective.com and he helps a lot of brands to go on their own with the D2C channel. So without wasting time, let's get right into it. Tam is actually a D2C nerd. He takes care of a lot of direct to consumer channel brands. He helps a lot to them in taking them with the right retention, right strategy, right tag, and a lot. So let's hear from Tam what exactly he does and how exactly is the market of D2C in India, right? So hey Tam, how are the things?
Hey Akash, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah. So, Tim, how is happening? How is the market of D2C picking up in India? I see Shopify consumer base has increased in, COVID. And whenever people want to reach out to the consumers, they only have one answer in their mind, that's Shopify. And they don't know how to do retention. They don't know how to do acquisition. And always I get a lot of queries and, a lot of questions from them that what exactly is going to help them. So how are the things at your side? I'm sure, people would be reaching out to you also.
So we've seen a phenomenal response ever since COVID set in, yeah. Because
Mm-hmm.
being online is no more optional now. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have to be online if you want to continue with your business. So the growth
Right.
over the past 6 to 8 months has been phenomenal. Everybody is looking to go online, and you rightly said that with the advent of Shopify, it is
Mm-hmm.
very easy for literally anybody to start an online store within maybe 1 or 2 days. That
Right.
easy now. But it takes time to get used to the platform, getting used to the acquisition, retention, all that jazz. But it's not very difficult to get started with it now.
Right. So what kind of brands do you approach to you? Like I have seen your portfolio. I have been following you since quite some time now. And I see you help a lot of these entrepreneurs. You'll be talking to a lot of entrepreneurs who are, with the very young brands and they want to make it big. So what kind of brands come to you and what kind of advice you give to them? And I'm sure technology plays a very big role here. So what kind of tools and technologies they are open to use over here?
Typically, we get a lot of queries from people who wanting to start new brands. So these are entrepreneurs who wanting to launch D2C products in Indian market. So a lot of consumer goods, a lot of apparel, a lot of fashion-based entrepreneurs. Plus, we also get a lot of interest from existing entrepreneurs who are already running their brands and they would want help scaling the brands and maybe help with retention marketing. Yeah, so technology, if you're working on Shopify, it's literally very very easy. So you can just plug and play an app and you can literally just get started. So adding technology is not very complex. You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to know programming. Literally anybody can do it.
So all are using Shopify. That's what is happening.
I think about 80 to 90% of people are using Shopify. Even I also recommend people to go for Shopify
Mhm.
unless they have a very specific use case. I myself use Shopify. So I think that's the easiest platform to get started with.
Right, right. Yeah, I also am in sync with you. We can vouch for Shopify when it comes to e-commerce because they have pretty much taken care of a lot of things. So how is happening with the hyperlocal? You are getting a hyperlocal brands who wants to get onboarded because that's the only case where I see Shopify not handling it properly because a lot of scenarios of hyperlocal are not being addressed when it comes to Shopify because it's very very centric to e-commerce platforms only, right? So what kind of things come when there is a brand which wants, for example, food and restaurant. This is a typical hyperlocal use case. Then there is a meat shop. Then there is a grocery. Then there is a vegetables, fresh produce of vegetables. These all are typical hyperlocal use cases. So are you getting any such hyperlocal people who wants to get online or kind of direct to customers?
Uh, Correct. So we've had interest from some folks, but to be honest, there aren't any too many technology platforms to be honest for these guys, because these guys typically are your old school businessmen who are
I
not very tech
agree.
savvy, who are not
Yeah.
very into technology. So there aren't too many tools and tactics for them. So I have a very close friend who runs a optical store, for example. He wanted to get in touch with me, and I literally couldn't point him in any direction. So Shopify doesn't work for him because he's an optical store. Most of his business is through walk-ins. So I mean that area is largely untapped and I think underserved, to be honest.
Right. Right. So what kind of, retention and all those strategies do you suggest? So whenever somebody comes to us for hyperlocal, I suggest them fully that, go with the aggregators and exploit them.
Mm-hmm.
So use your
Correct.
aggregators in a way that you are generating customers from them. And then maybe use a retention technique where you get a customer and then you retain. So use it to your advantage, because if you go, hand in hand with the aggregators, then there is no U-turn. They have a lot of funds, they have a lot of money. You'll never be able to compete and woo customers, but you can always get to the customers who are loyal to you, right? And if you have a right engagement strategy, which is missed out, badly. A lot of people believe engagement strategy is more like a loyalty program, but that's not how it works, right? You need to understand customers, you need to understand the behavioral pattern, and that's how you can come up with the right engagement strategy for individuals. So how exactly, engagement you are helping brands to come up with?
So, one of the problem with aggregators essentially is that you don't own the customer. So say for example, you're selling stuff on Amazon or Flipkart or any of the aggregators. You don't
Mhm.
own the customer. You don't own the data. You don't have any control over the journey that the customer goes through. So literally, an Amazon can suggest your client some other product and you won't even know. If you're running on these platforms, you can't really own the customer, and that's a very short-term view if that is your only source of revenue. So in the long run, I think entrepreneurs and businesses should try to own the customer. Have the data to themselves, and be able to market to their customers directly instead of just
Mhm.
relying on aggregators. So to give you an example, so Amazon can come up with the product on their own and then they can just wipe you off. So similarly,
Right.
Swiggy or Zomato can open their own
Amazon Basics is one of the
kitchens.
product, right? Amazon Basics
Correct,
is also
correct.
one of that. Yeah.
True,
The
true.
use case is
And
very similar,
similarly,
Tam. The use case, yeah, sorry to interrupt. So use case is very similar
I
in
was saying,
hyperlocal
yeah,
also,
correct.
right?
Yeah, so I was saying that even Swiggy and Zomato can come up with their own cloud kitchens and
They came
wipe
with
you
their own
off.
cloud kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the
So
whole company
owning the
and a lot
customer is
of,
the game.
yeah, a lot of brands they came up with. So they identified that what brand is working where, and they tried to
Mm,
create their own brands as a competition to their,
mm,
actual vendors, like actual merchants.
mm.
Sometimes I feel, it should be against the ethics, but that's how the business model works. So,
Yeah. I think that's how the marketplace model works. I just get the data, see what's working, see what's not, and then eventually launch your own brand.
right. What suggestion do you give, to your brands on marketing? Like how exactly the marketing works for them? Do you have some
So typically,
secret techniques which you want to spill off, or or
uh, so there are no secrets as such, but typically for brands who are there on the marketplaces, I recommend that take the customers to your own website. So there are ways to
Hmm.
do it. If they're right or wrong, I'm not sure, but there are certainly ways to do it. So say for example, you're running a CPG brand, which is a consumer product brand. And what you can do is that you can give the customer inside the packaging that discount voucher or a
Hmm.
scan code which the customer can scan to get to know you better. So they can land on a page, where they can know your brand, they can know your story, or maybe get a discount if they buy from your website. So once you've engaged the customer to your own website, then you sort of have the pixel, you know the customer, you can retarget them on various channels and get the customer to buy on your own store. So once the customer buys from your store, that's when you kind of own the customer. You have the data, you have his email ID, you have your number, you know who the customer is. Then you can look at long-term retention from that customer.
Right. So I'm pretty surprised, because in our hyperlocal also the marketing works in a very similar way. So that's what we also advise to a lot of F&B brands and hyperlocal brands, that you first of all get your customer, use organic channels as much as possible. So the moment, a lot of people come to us and say that we want to use digital medium, we want to do sponsored advertisements and all that. We have a lot of media budget and all. But that never makes sense, because if you are selling an item worth rupees 200, 300, then how come, the ROI will ever make sense? And when it comes to customer acquisition, your aggregators will give you in a much lesser price. Maybe in a food cost, you will get a customer acquired, right? So, so
Correct.
that's how it works. Yeah. So
I think
pretty
it's very
amazing.
difficult
Yeah.
for, yeah, so I think
Yeah.
it's certainly much very difficult for restaurants to operate in the kind of margins that they have, yeah, with the aggregators taking a chunk of it. I don't know how they, making Swiggy and Zomato work for them.
A lot of times I
What's
have
your experience
observed.
with that?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times I have observed them that restaurants are not doing the math right. So the moment they see the breakdown of what they are being paid after Swiggy and Zomato takes their cut, right, is actually peanuts, right? And a lot of restaurant owners just do this as a brand, expanding or branding activity. I would say marketing activity. The moment you just use it as a marketing activity, but still there is a way to use it. First thing is you don't slash down your cost, right? The moment you go with the aggressive discounting, the problem with that thought process is you can never charge full money back. So
Mm.
the typical Scandis problem, right? So when you put on a shop glue and all these places at 10 rupees, 19 rupees and all, nobody pays for that pen drive for full cost. That's a consumer behavior, and that is happening in all the spaces. And F&B is also no different here, right? So when they are slashing down the prices of their biryani or their food just to make the customer acquisition on steroid, the moment they stop that discounting, they lose the customers,
Mm.
right? And post COVID, this trend has been observed. All are complaining. Lot of mostly all the restaurant owners are complaining that the numbers what they used to get before, even after discounting, now they are not getting.
Mm.
Whereas a lot of places, the reverse migration problem is not there. In only few areas of the city, that reverse migration has happened. That a lot of people, especially in Hyderabad, where our office is, IT crowd or working crowd is no more here. They have gone back to their
Correct.
hometowns and all that stuff. But
Mm.
that's not the case everywhere. You go 20 kilometers here, Secunderabad. That's the residential crowd. Business community stays there, and still the drop in orders are coming from there, right? So behavior is changing, and I have seen one thing that now food aggregators have started charging the delivery money, which is still not the
Mm.
case in
Correct.
e-commerce, right? In e-commerce, still people expect free delivery. So in
Yeah.
hyperlocal, at least that consumer behavior has changed. People have started paying for deliveries, right? So
Right.
in e-commerce also, I
The
think
likes of
yeah, you're saying something,
Yeah, I
right?
think the likes of Amazon have ruined the customers. Yeah, so they now expect deliveries to come in 2 days, one day, next day. I mean that
Yeah,
gets very
that too
difficult
for
for a
free.
D2C brand. Yeah.
Uh, Yeah. So challenge, I don't know how, e-commerce D2C is helping because the delivery is actually absorbed over there in the commission, whatever this aggregators take. So you take Amazon or
Mhm.
Flipkart, delivery is absorbed in the commission, right? That's how it works, right? Or how exactly it works.
No, delivery charges are separate. So when you see that, say, so for example, you're doing apparel on Amazon, so they'll take about 17% as commission charges, plus about 40-50 bucks for delivery, and reverse logistics is separate. So it's all chargeable separately. Yeah. It's not a part of the commission.
So how does this apparel brand make money? If basically this is not for somebody who is on a retail or who is a wholesaler. They can
Mm.
never go on
No.
Amazon, right?
Yeah. So ideally, how it works is that, in my experience, the manufacturers stand to gain the best. So I know a few people, I know a few brands who typically exporters to international countries, and they have leftover fabrics, and it makes real sense for them because they already have the fabric, they have their own
Right.
factories, they can give it at very low cost. It makes sense for them. Secondly, some of the larger brands, it can make sense for them because it's an additional revenue channel. They need to be everywhere. But then again, these brands are also choosing, where they plan to
Right.
sell. There have been, a lot of problems with counterfeit products as well. So, sometimes you order from a brand, from a source seller that you don't know, and it turns out to be counterfeit. That is one challenge which again, needs to be addressed.
Hmm. Right. How exactly? Because I see that a lot of small retailers, a lot of wholesalers who are not owning a brand, but who are just taking a maybe dealership or something. They're also on the Amazon and Flipkart platforms, right? How
Mm-hmm.
do they make money? Because there the margins won't be so fat, right? The margins would
Correct,
be pretty thin
correct.
over there.
Correct. That's not a sustainable business model, to be frank.
Hmm.
It's either you manufacturing or you making a product with very high margins, then you can still survive. But if you're a distributor, then it's difficult to make money.
Right. Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So same, so the problems are all same over here. I see that hyperlocal has a better case over here, but still I don't know why the Indian market is not picking up so fast. It is picking up slowly. A lot of people have started creating their own channel, but the way e-commerce has done, I see that the cost is also being absorbed. So I can understand that 15-20% of whatever margins plus the logistics cost, these all things are being absorbed over there.
Mm.
Whereas in food, the margins are not so fat. So basically in food, you only
Mm.
have 30 to 35% of margin with you. So you can either pay to aggregators or you can take care of the logistics yourself. You cannot do the
Correct.
both.
Correct. Correct.
So,
And you have other expenses, marketing expenses, everything is there.
yeah, right. And this Swiggy, Zomato, they all come with cloud kitchen also. So I don't understand, how exactly these markets, are going to scale up. So the only
So
one thing what we tell,
I think the way it works is that if you've seen Myntra, earlier it used to have all international brands. When you open it now, when you open
hmm,
Myntra or when you search for any product, the top
hmm,
15, 20 products will be private labels of Myntra itself. I
right.
think that is how a marketplace makes money. They acquire a customer, then eventually you will see their own brand. That started to happen in Amazon also. So you see most of Amazon brands when you search for something, and I think that's common for hyper local aggregators as well. You will eventually only see their own cloud kitchen.
Right. How do you see the market, going forward? If these brands are expanding so much and they are creating their own products or own branded products, I would say, right? Then how do you see market? Because at one side we are celebrating that yes, it's good that now India is taking, a job creation way where a lot of entrepreneurs are coming out and coming up with a lot of stories and all. And when any entrepreneur wants to come out and which is not a IT business, then it is either a production or some manufacturing of a product,
Mm.
or either it's a food hyper local. So either you go in e-commerce and you target pan India, or you go hyper local and you target the concentrated audience which is around there, right? So how do you see things going forward? How exactly the businesses will be able to sprout and scale up if this kind of ideology is being pushed?
Okay, I think India is a huge market. Yeah, even about 2, 3 years back, I used to underestimate the market. The buying potential is immense. There are people buying. If I give you an example of t-shirt brand, so there's a brand called Marti. So they sell a
Mhm.
t-shirt for 1,500 rupees. Like that's a basic t-shirt. Nothing. There's no logo. Nothing. I used to think
Okay.
that maybe that's a little expensive for the Indian market, but when you look at the numbers, I mean they're doing huge numbers for a basic t-shirt. So 1,500 is premium pricing for a basic t-shirt and doing pretty well. There is a shoe brand called Neiman's, which is again premium pricing doing well. Then with the likes of Epigamia who's selling almond milk at 300 a pop,
Right.
that's expensive. So I think the market is there. So India, especially the metro tier one, tier two cities, do have the buying potential, and
Hmm.
I don't see there is a dearth of opportunity there.
Nice, nice,
There's a lot of opportunity for hyper local and e-commerce entrepreneurs as well. So
nice.
even on
Yeah, that
when
makes
you
sense.
order food online, I'm staying in Gurgaon, so I think 200, 300, 400 per order is very normal and reasonable. It's not expensive actually.
Right, right. Yeah, average cost of order has gone high, and I think that's where the
Mm.
market will sustain when it comes to hyper local. If the transaction
Mm.
value is above 350, then everybody's making money out of it. But the moment
Right.
the transaction value goes below 300, 200, somebody will have to chip in the cost because
So
consumers will not be able to pay extra.
mm, I think there's a market for high-end products, definitely, yeah. Because
Mhm.
then you have margin to get acquisition in place, then you have margin to spend money on marketing activities. So premium pricing, I think it definitely works.
Lot of brands I have seen after COVID, they are only targeting on this high-end, items. I have seen biryani players. I have seen a lot of food players also coming with only this price segment. They don't want to go below that price point. Their target audience is very clear. They only want to target people who can afford to pay more than this price point, and they kind of procure a right quality of material and right packaging, and they try to give that experience as well. But I think that space is, something which is going to be unlocked now, because the spending capacity of not only metros, but I can see in tier 1 and 2 cities also that spending capacity has gone high. Now, a lot of people who have reverse migrated there are also ordering from there. So a lot of people are anticipating that now next, boom will start in tier 2, tier 3 and all. Right. But it's actually the people who have went from here to there and, they are unlocking the potential over there.
True. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So what's next then? So what's your roadmap now? What's TAMcollective.com going to do going forward?
Yeah, TAM Collective, as an agency, we're highly focused towards retention marketing. So, when we talk about retention, there is a misconception in the market that it's just sending out emailers and SMSs. That's what, these tech platforms will have you believe. But that is not what retention marketing is. So, when you do retention, that starts from unboxing. So when somebody opens the box, how the box is, what experience did the customer get, what content you're giving the customer, how are you following up with the customer, what products are you launching next, how are you consistently on top of mind. That is what retention is. It's not sending an email saying that, come back and shop with us, save 10% discount. Of course that works, but then, that's just bread and butter. You can't argue with just bread and butter these days.
Right.
So when we typically work with clients, we do an entire 360-degree thing wherein we help them on the data aspect, which includes all the email, text, WhatsApp, etc. Plus, we also work on the branding aspect, which is like the story of the founder is in place. There are communication. There's content.
Yeah, I think that is something everybody is missing. Brand needs to have a good story, right? Sometimes emotion works. Sometimes the root works. A lot of people are just selling organic food, in the name of coming from a villages or something like that, helping tribal and all that kind of story.
Correct.
Story makes a lot of difference, Story and packaging, I completely agree with you. Half of your work is done here only. Your right story, right packaging, and right landing page.
100%. Yeah, these are like super important, which are often neglected.
Right. Sounds great.
What's it going with you? What are you guys working on these days?
With YumZX, we saw that a lot of potential is there in hyperlocal market, but people are just focused on e-commerce. That's what I have seen. So we are trying to unlock the hyperlocal market potential by enabling the F&B owners and hyperlocal business owners to come up with their own D2C channels. Now, the education in the market is still not there. A lot of people feel that just creating an online ordering platform and a website, we are done with it. As you rightly said, the retention is very important. The acquisition is very important. Your packaging and your story is very important. So all those things we are focused, to empower the brands with. So we are trying to help brands and, trying to empower them by getting all these things done and making them elevated from the rest. And in hyperlocal, the one good thing is that the market is evolving. The logistics market has evolved. So before, where you have to fight a lot for getting the deliveries done, and the dependency was there a lot on the aggregators only because they were owning the fleet. But now it's more like the delivery boys are also mature. The market is also mature. And there are a few players which are taking care of logistics in a very wonderful way. So what we did is we have tied up with them and we are taking the 360. So not only taking care of your right branding, packaging and platform, but also making sure that your order is getting delivered. Because when it comes to hyper-local, and mostly which is food and some perishable items, it needs to be delivered within 40-45 minutes. So how exactly the efficiency can happen? And we cannot expect that a brand will employ people to take care, to get the delivery riders, to take care if there is a customer support problem, right? So YumZX as a platform takes care of all these things, all these nitty-gritties. So the plan now is to start with other cities also. So as we speak, we have already expanded in Mumbai and Delhi, along with Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Chennai. And we are planning to expand more, in all the tier 1-2 cities as well, and try to unlock the potential there. So that's what we are planning to do in upcoming, quarter. Right now, we are almost 120 brands where we are working with. We are helping 120 brands as of now. We started this YumZX just 3 months back. And we got a tremendous response from the market. So I see good potential.
Mm.
The only,
Definitely, yeah, definitely there's a huge potential.
the only effort time we see is in educating people, right? So
Mm.
we, for you also, I am sure, the problem is same.
Mm.
My half of the time in sales calls
Mm.
goes in explaining them that what exactly needs to be
Correct,
done,
correct, correct.
right? So
So essentially, we come across two types of entrepreneurs. So one is like super educated, Harvard educated, or IIM educated. There,
mhm,
the education effort is negligible. The other part
right,
is someone who came out from a passion project. So somebody was passionate about organic clothing. They don't
mhm,
understand the nitty-gritties of marketing and tech and how does it work. There,
right.
education is a challenge for us too.
Right. Yeah, yeah, you're very right. I only met few entrepreneurs who are super educated.
Mm.
Rest,
Mm.
and this all guys are having big brands, by the way. So that
Mm.
was a bit easy for us to go convince and explain that how exactly this is going to work. But for most of
Mm.
the people, I feel like I'm not in a D2C enabling business. I'm more like a education business where we need to explain a lot, tell them a lot,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, I think these are the challenges coming there.
right. Cool. Sounds good, Tim. So, it was a pleasure talking over here with you. Let me know, if you have some closing statement for everybody who's listening to this podcast.
Okay, so if people want to know more about what we do, they can check out tamcollective.com, or they can also follow me on LinkedIn. So I'm pretty regular
Yeah, I know that.
there.
Sounds good, Tam. Thank you so much. Let's hope for another session like this, an informative one.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
Cool.
Akash. Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Thank
It
you.
was
Thank you
nice
so much for
chatting
your
with
time,
you.
Tim.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. All the best. Bye. Bye.
Bye.